when Brenda screamed, "Common property at my $2 million marina gate." She had no idea this retired Coast Guard engineer was about to flip her own HOA rules against her and turn her wine parties into her worst nightmare. For 2 long years, her Wines and Wines book club had hijacked my private dock every Thursday. 12 Karens in sun hats blocking my yacht, spilling rose on teak decks, leaving lipstick-stained cups and diesel-soaked trash until 2 a.m. The stench hit me every Friday morning like a hangover I didn't earn. So I installed a heavy steel gate on my own land. The clang when it locked? Pure justice. She threatened lawsuits, called her city councilman husband, claimed the dock was community space. I just smiled and pulled out 3 years of time-stamped evidence. Every violation, every lie, every dirty trick she thought nobody was watching. What this power-drunk HOA chair didn't know was that I'd been documenting everything, and payback was about to get very, very public. What would you do if an HOA tried to steal your property? Drop your city in the comments. I'm watching from Naples, Florida, but the real story started in Millfield Cove, Connecticut. Let me back up and tell you how this whole nightmare began. 3 years ago, I inherited waterfront property from Uncle Frank, a crusty Coast Guard engineer who'd rather rebuild engines than deal with people. Smart man. The property came with 2 separate deeds. The main house where I live, and a 6-slip marina Frank built in 1987 with proper permits, environmental approvals, and $20,000 of materials. This wasn't weekend DIY. Frank had designed floating docks for the Coast Guard for 30 years. Always check if inherited property has multiple parcels with separate deeds. It's your strongest defense against HOA overreach. Multiple deeds mean multiple property rights that can't be combined without your consent. The marina sat mostly empty when I moved in. Frank's old Boston whaler floated in slip 3, covered in seagull droppings and salt spray. The smell of creosote and diesel reminded me of my own Coast Guard days. Peaceful, exactly what I needed after 3 decades of service. That peace lasted exactly 4 months. Enter Brenda Kessler, 48, real estate agent and self-appointed queen of the Millfield Cove HOA. Picture a woman who color codes her spice rack and irons her yoga pants. Her husband Roy sits on city council, the kind of politician who remembers your wallet size but not your name. Brenda first invaded on a Thursday in May, leading 12 SUVs down to my marina like an entitled wagon train. I watched from my deck as women in designer athleisure unloaded enough wine to float a small destroyer. The clink of stemware against my custom teak railings made me cringe. "Oh, hi," Brenda chirped when she spotted me. "Just using the community marina for book club. Hope you don't mind." The audacity hit like a slap. "This is private property. My uncle built this on his own land." Her smile froze, but those shark eyes went calculating. "Well, there's obviously been some confusion. Waterfront amenities are community resources here. I'll have someone research the paperwork." That someone was Roy, who magically discovered an HOA covenant claiming shared access to recreational waterfront facilities. Never mind that this marina existed a decade before their HOA was incorporated. Details, right? Here's where it gets infuriating. Instead of just asking to occasionally use the dock, Brenda declared it community property and started charging her book club members $50 each for marina access fees. She was literally profiting off my property while telling me I had no say. Every Thursday became my personal hell. The Wines and Wines Club, though I never saw them crack anything but Chardonnay, would arrive like an invading army, blocking boat access, rearranging furniture, leaving disasters of lipstick-stained cups and soggy cheese, plates floating in the water. The wine-fueled cackling at midnight made my blood pressure spike. These weren't quiet book discussions. They were full-blown parties with speakers, gossip, and enough drunk drama to power a reality show. When I politely asked them to clean up, Brenda would pat my arm like I was a confused dog. "Marcus, don't be antisocial. Community spirit makes Millfield special." Community spirit? Lady, you're running an unlicensed commercial operation on my private dock and pocketing cash. The breaking point came when security footage caught one of her wine-drunk friends trying to steal my uncle's restored Boston whaler. A blonde in a Wine Mom t-shirt fumbled with the ignition while her crew cheered like it was spring break. That's when I installed the $12,000 steel gate with electronic locks and enough cameras to make the Pentagon jealous. The look on Brenda's face when that gate clanged shut for the first time? Priceless. But instead of backing down, Brenda declared total war. And honestly, I'd been hoping she would. The morning after I locked her out, she filed a formal HOA complaint accusing me of antisocial behavior detrimental to community harmony. The smell of fresh coffee turned bitter as I read her 3-page manifesto, claiming I was hoarding resources and displaying hostility toward neighborhood traditions. Tradition? Your wine party started 2 years ago, not 2 centuries. She scheduled an emergency architectural review board meeting, conveniently when working people couldn't attend, with the agenda item: review of unauthorized gate installation restricting community waterfront access. The word unauthorized made my jaw clench. I'd pulled proper permits like any law-abiding citizen. Her secret weapon was a copy of the 1997 HOA covenants claiming all waterfront recreational facilities fell under community jurisdiction, highlighted in hot pink marker, probably while sipping her morning mimosa and plotting my downfall. Most people would panic, but 3 decades in the Coast Guard taught me that paperwork wars are won by whoever does their homework first. While Brenda planned my public execution, I was at town hall digging through filing cabinets that reeked of old cigarettes and bureaucratic despair. Town clerk Mrs. Henderson, a sharp woman filing documents since the Carter administration, pulled out my uncle's original 1987 marina permits. Frank was thorough, she said, adjusting her wire-rimmed glasses. These permits specifically state the marina was built on private Lot 47B, completely separate from residential lots under HOA control. Then Mrs. Henderson dropped a bombshell. Your neighbor, Mrs. Kessler, requested these same documents 6 months ago, before you even moved here. She asked specifically about adverse possession laws, how long someone needs to use property before claiming ownership. The pieces clicked like a weapon being assembled. This wasn't spontaneous. Brenda had been planning this marina theft since before I'd unpacked my first box. She'd researched the legal angles, probably discovered that 15 years of continuous use could establish adverse possession rights in Connecticut, and figured 2 years of wine parties would muddy the waters. The woman was playing a long game, and I'd walked right in her trap. Armed with Frank's permits and deed restrictions, I showed up to Brenda's kangaroo court ready for battle. The HOA meeting room stunk of vanilla, air freshener, and manufactured outrage. 12 neighbors slouched in folding chairs, looking like they'd rather be getting root canals. Brenda opened with a PowerPoint titled, Preserving Community Values, because nothing says grassroots like corporate presentation software. She'd photograph my gate from every angle, adding dramatic red arrows, pointing at the lock like evidence of terrorism. This barrier, she announced, laser pointer clicking with prosecutorial precision, represents selfish individualism threatening our community fabric. She had talking points about my exclusionary fence creating social division, claiming 3 families were considering moving because of my antisocial hostility. Her bangles clinked against the podium microphone with each accusation, creating an annoying metallic rhythm that matched her rehearsed outrage. When she finished assassinating my character, I stood with my manila folder. Before we discuss community values, let's discuss property law. I spread Frank's permits across the table like a royal flush. This marina was built entirely on Lot 47B with a separate deed, environmental impact study, Coast Guard floating dock approval, and town permit specifically exempting marina facilities from HOA jurisdiction. Dead silence, except for fluorescent lights, buzzing like angry wasps. Brenda's face went through 5 stages of grief in 10 seconds. Confusion, denial, anger, bargaining, and pure panic as she realized her research had missed crucial details. Furthermore, I continued, savoring the moment, the 1997 HOA covenants explicitly cover residential lots 1 through 46. Lot 47B isn't mentioned because it was already developed and specifically excluded from association control. Board member Tom Rodriguez, A decent mechanic who probably wanted to be fixing transmissions instead of refereeing neighbor disputes cleared his throat. So, the marina was never HOA property. Never. My uncle negotiated that exclusion in writing before joining the association. Everything's filed, recorded, and legally bulletproof. Brenda scrambled for damage control. There could be implied easements for community access. I cut her off, remembering my Coast Guard legal training. Implied easements only apply to necessary access, not recreational party zones. The meeting dissolved into awkward paper, shuffling, and uncomfortable silence. But as neighbors filed out, I caught the look in Brenda's eyes. Pure rage mixed with desperate calculation. This woman wasn't backing down. If anything, I just declared war on someone with connections, resources, and absolutely nothing to lose. She was already speed dialing someone as I walked to my truck, probably activating every political favor her husband had banked over the years. Brenda's revenge came fast and dirty. 2 days after the HOA meeting, a city inspector materialized at my door like a government-issued Grim Reaper. Marina safety inspection. Got reports of dangerous conditions requiring immediate intervention. Meet Dave Kruger, a weaselly little bureaucrat who'd obviously never seen a proper dock in his life. He stumbled around taking photos of perfectly normal equipment while manufacturing violations from thin air. This electrical junction box violates proximity standards, he muttered, photographing a Coast Guard-approved installation that predated his birth certificate. The stench of his discount aftershave mixed with morning salt air made my eyes water. Watching this clown pretend to understand marine engineering was like watching a toddler perform brain surgery. "Show me the specific code," I demanded, following with my own camera. Dave couldn't cite actual regulations, just vague mumbling about public safety protocols and adequate community access standards. When I asked for his marine credentials, he developed convenient hearing loss. His violation notice read like bureaucratic fanfiction. 17 alleged safety issues, including insufficient lighting for public use and inadequate capacity for community access. The punchline? Recommendation for immediate municipal oversight pending compliance. Municipal oversight meant Roy Kessler would control my private property through city authority. These thieves weren't just stealing my dock. They were using government power to legitimize grand larceny. But corruption leaves fingerprints if you know where to look. My public records request revealed Dave Kruger wasn't random. He was Roy's former business partner in a construction company that collapsed, owing contractors $200,000. During my Coast Guard years investigating maritime fraud, I'd learned that following money trails always exposes the real story. In this case, Roy had activated his bankruptcy buddy to manufacture fake violations justifying city seizure. The corruption was so blatant, it was almost insulting. Did they think this old sailor wouldn't recognize a shakedown? I hired Coastal Marine Engineering for an independent audit. $3,000 to watch Dr. Sarah Hugo examine every bolt and cable Frank had installed. Her boots echoed on the dock planks as she tested each connection with surgical precision. "Your uncle was a master," she said, running expert hands along galvanized support systems. "This marina exceeds current codes by ridiculous margins. Whoever called it unsafe is either incompetent or lying." Her report confirmed what I knew. Exemplary condition substantially exceeds safety and environmental standards. Dave's weekend certification from some Albany seminar didn't qualify him to inspect a kiddie pool, much less condemn waterfront property. That's when the anonymous packages started appearing. The first envelope contained photocopied HOA minutes from 3 years ago discussing multi-phase acquisition strategy for premium waterfront assets and revenue optimization through slip rental expansion. Someone had highlighted a section about targeting properties with unclear ownership transitions. They'd been planning this heist since before I'd unpacked my sea bags. The attached note read, "They destroyed our family, too. Fight back. Eleanor F." Eleanor Fairbanks. I remembered her from the HOA meeting, an elderly woman who'd sat quietly in the back taking notes while Brenda performed her PowerPoint persecution. Turns out Eleanor was one of the original HOA founders who'd helped Uncle Frank negotiate his marina exemption back in 1987. The second package contained bank records showing Brenda's real estate company collecting marina access fees from home buyers, $47,000 over 18 months. She'd been selling access to my private property, pocketing the cash, then using city inspectors to justify the theft. The woman had turned my inheritance into her personal revenue stream. But Brenda wasn't finished. She organized a grassroots petition claiming my marina caused traffic congestion and environmental damage. 37 signatures demanding city action against my selfish property hoarding. The petition referenced Dave's manufactured safety concerns as justification for immediate municipal intervention. Then came her media blitz. Channel 8 News scheduled an interview about uncooperative veterans disrupting community harmony. The teaser showed Brenda on the public beach, gesturing dramatically at my gate while lamenting newcomers who reject neighborhood cooperation. Rich. This woman had spent 2 years stealing my property, profiting from fraudulent marketing, and deploying corrupt officials to manufacture fake violations. Now she was positioning herself as the victim of my antisocial behavior. But every escalation just handed me more ammunition. My attorney was building a federal case that would make Watergate look like a parking ticket dispute. The metallic taste of anger in my mouth reminded me of combat situations. That moment when you realize the enemy has overplayed their hand and victory becomes inevitable. Let Brenda keep digging. She had no idea how deep this hole was about to get or how many federal agencies were about to take interest in her little municipal corruption scheme. Game on, sweetheart. And the saga only escalated from there. Staged injuries, bribery attempts, false environmental reports, tax reassessments, midnight threats, and ultimately, a dramatic town hall showdown where evidence, federal indictments, and handcuffs brought the whole corrupt operation crashing down. Brenda and Roy faced serious prison time, massive restitution, and the loss of their power. While the community healed, veterans found peace on the water, and private property rights stood stronger than ever. This wild tale of entitlement, corruption, clever documentation, and sweet justice is the kind of over-the-top HOA drama we love sharing here. Fictionalized for maximum entertainment, but inspired by those all-too-real neighborhood nightmares. If you've got your own HOA horror story, drop it in the comments. You're not alone in the fight. Subscribe for more epic takedowns, clever comebacks, and karma in action. New stories every day, because sometimes the best revenge is a locked gate and airtight paperwork. Speedboat locked collision.